other events as well, which were a little different than our sporting events. On the competitive front, I'll let my old battalion commander now tell a little bit about that. But we were also able to place fourth overall inter-service air rifle competition in Chambersburg. And then a previous event to that, we were also to finish fourth out of 8 schools in a drill competition as well, an inter-service ones, as Navy, Air Force, us, and Army and Marines. So they did real well and performed well there. We also introduced our cyber club. As many of you saw that a couple weeks ago, Sergeant Gonzalez offered you the round of the overview for that. Very proud of that effort, and we have a few more events to do with them this year, and we're also culminating that with a junior RTC cadet leadership camp at New York this summer with the Thomas Edison School. And the 2nd Brigade, there's only that school and 2 other schools, so we were handpicked to go to that program. Because of what we've been able to accomplish this year with that program. So we're excited, looking forward to that opportunity as well as the kids begin to expand that. And then I'll also some updates on the cybersecurity once I talk to Dr. Weber and Dr. Trick a little bit more about. I got some news from Cadet Command over the last couple of weeks about how we can start shaping this a little bit differently and start moving things in our favor. But with that, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to turn this over to Cadet Addison Winchester for her final remarks, and I'll take over and introduce the new chain of command.
Madam President of the Board, thank you for allowing me to deliver a speech today. As you know, I'm Addison Winchester, and I was given the honor to be the battalion commander for the 2023 to 2024 school year. These 4 years have been special to not only myself and my peers, but also to our instructors. This year's graduating class had the joyous privilege of having everything dictated by COVID. With our freshman year being mainly experienced through a computer screen, we longed to see each other in person. Despite all the hurdles, we made it happen. My staff and myself made the mission to be more interactive experiences to not only our cadets, but also surrounding programs. This year we've accomplished many momentous things, like our first place at the league drill competition for both armed drill and color guard, placing overall first. Our overall 2nd place in our league's Raider competition, which is the first time we've ever placed top 5. Our first ever rifle team win, and our first ever cyber competition where we placed first. And above all, our infamous Cleanest Room Award, courtesy of the Navy drill competition. Before now, we had only dreamed about doing these things. Even mentoring and connecting with our other JRTC programs, including the Reading Marines, Muhlenberg Air Force, and Chambersburg Navy, were only dreams. If this year's taught me one thing, it's that we're stronger together. The one piece of advice I left to my peers was to not wait. Growing up, I was told that I am a future leader tomorrow, but in reality, tomorrow is today, and I know I'm ready, but my question was, are they? I've never been more impressed by a group of individuals, and I have no doubt that their battalion commander for next year, Albert, and their XO, Alcantara, and their Command Sergeant Major, Worst, and as well as our S3 Sharma will do amazing things and make us all proud. They'll excel beyond expectation and complete things that this year's seniors could only dream of. Thank you, Major New, for tolerating us and being an amazing instructor. It was an honor being the first group of cadets that he saw all the way through. As well as a tremendous thank you to the board for constantly supporting our cadets. I know next year's seniors have amazing plans in place, and I can't wait to see the mark they leave on the school and the program. Thank you again.
All right, so again, thanks you, Addison, for the remarks and the kind words. So as you talked about just a few seconds ago, I introduced a new chain of command to you. Next year's S3, or Plans or Operations Officer. If anybody knows that job, it's a joyful job. You get blamed for everything if nothing goes right. But Cadet Sharma, our Cadet XO, the Executive Officer, the one who must keep everybody in line, is Cadet Alcantara. Command Sergeant Major, Cadet Worst. And the Battalion Commander incoming is Cadet Albert. And I would be, sorry. And the outgoing is Cadet Sergeant Major Cadet Krager, Hunter Krager. The XO was Cadet Jacobs this year. The S3 was Cadet Rodriguez, and Cadet Winchester was Battalion Commander. As I talked to the seniors on our awards night a few weeks ago, I did leave them with this, and I think this holds true for them. One of my favorite generals is George Patton, for a lot of reasons, everybody's is, but as an armor officer, he was kind of our patron saint, if you will, and taught us a lot of things in armor and cav tactics that we still use to this day. One thing I mentioned then was, in his quote was, don't tell them how to do things. Tell them what to do. Let them surprise you with their results. And that was kind of what they lived by. I never had to tell them much. I gave them the instructions, kind of my intent. They gave me the best feedback, and off they went. And it was a tremendous opportunity and a great joy to work with them, and I'm going to miss them severely, and I'll just leave it at that for now. Again, thank you, Board, for our support.
Thank you, Major New. So to keep along the themes of coming to a close, this evening we are going to recognize our student representative to the school board, Mr. Bryce Heilman. Not only has Bryce served our board well as a student representative, but he's also served the school and community this year. Well, really, all 4 years of his high school experience. Bryce has been the member of the student government throughout his entire high school career. Before being president, he served as secretary his junior year, and he's also served as president of the senior class. And in just a few weeks, we will be hearing his amazing speech in the welcome address at graduation. So very excited. In addition, he has also served as recruitment captain for Wilson's Mini-thon. And music is a very important part of Bryce's life. He served as both theater and choir officer and performed in band and choir ensembles at the county and district levels. I don't know, we have updates every week and you're in a lot of the pictures, so. He's also been involved with theater throughout high school and impressed all of us with his performances this past year in both You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown and The Little Mermaid. Bryce is also a previous member and section leader of the marching band. So it goes without saying, Bryce, that your accomplishments have made you very deserving of the recipient, to be the recipient of this year's Wilson School Board Scholarship. And this award is given out each year to a student who is well-rounded, involved in extracurricular activities, and civic-minded. So obviously, he's part of our local government, non-voting, but part of our local government by being the student representative. So we are beyond pleased to give you this year's $1,000 cash scholarship. Thank you, Bryce, for all that you've done to make our district a place where students love to learn, staff love to work, and people love to live. And you're the perfect example of what it means to be a Bulldog. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'll say more on this later, but I just want to begin by saying a huge thank you to all the board members for allowing me the opportunity to sit alongside you guys and learn from all of you this year. Being a student representative is an experience that I was eagerly looking forward to, but until I was in this seat, I did not know how unique an opportunity it is. Not only do I get to share the innumerable amazing student accomplishments Wilson students do every day, but I get to be a leader for the student body. Through events like the Candidate Forum, I was able to reach out to students and reflect their perspective through the questions asked to prospective board members. Wilson exemplifies their true consideration for students by having this role on the board, for they are giving students an opportunity to listen and be heard when otherwise they might not. That being said, I am beyond excited to introduce our next student representative for the 2024 to 2025 school year. I've invited her, but also a few past representatives as well, to show what I feel is uniquely special about this group of people. Not only are they all phenomenal leaders, students, and community members, but they're all very close friends of mine. Freshman year, I was first introduced to student government by President Gianni Clark. She led a flourishing club in a time of extreme uncertainty, and I strive to match her devotion to keeping student government not only alive, but a group of committed individuals making change in the school. Sophomore year, I met President Maddie Negrini. She led student government through hosting one of the first school dances since the pandemic began and brought students together for a successful night of fun. Her passion for pursuing these events through hardships is something I admired. And then my junior year, I got to be secretary with President Danny Radosh. Seeing her leadership firsthand inspired me, but it was her deep interest and passion for the community and giving students a voice through her position on this board that I most admired and that ensured I wanted to run for this position. And now I'm thrilled to announce Isabel Negrini as next year's student representative to the school board. And as I talk, if you would like to walk up. Whether it is through her commitment to excelling in athletics such as volleyball and for the first time this year tennis, her sincere passion for performing on stage and continuously improving her incredible talent, or her devotion to leadership through clubs such as Minithon and student government, or the academic excellence she balances on top of it all. Isabel brings sincerity and passion to whatever she does, and I cannot wait to see her lead as representative next year.
Thank you so much, Bryce. As he said, my name is Isabel Negrini, and I am Wilson High School's next student government president. I am so beyond grateful and honored to take on this position. I respect each and every one of you as leaders, and I'm looking forward to a wonderful year working with you. Thank you.
Well, that was an amazing start to our meeting, and we'll try to get through the rest of it. Thank you, Bryce, and welcome, Ms. Negrini. This evening, we do not have any public participation on agenda items. The board did meet in executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss personnel matters. Looking for a voice vote, looking for a motion for the, to approve the board meeting, the minutes held on May 6, 2024. Looking for a motion for 2.1.
Move, Denny.
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Treasurer's report, Mr. McCray.
A motion to approve the treasurer's report, investment report, general and capital funds, and financial reports as presented.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, McCree.
Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Payment of bills, Mr. McCray.
Yes, motion to approve the payment of bills from the general fund, $5,075,942.29. From capital reserve, $649,834.60. And from the 2021C construction fund, $679,976.37.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion. Do we have a second for 4.1?
Second.
Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
On to financial reports, Mr. McCray.
Yeah, motion to approve the financial reports for the month of April 2024, specifically the cafeteria and childcare funds, and then the accounts for Southern Middle School, Wilson West Middle School, and the senior high.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion. Do we have a second for 5.1?
So moved. Case.
Mr. Case, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Schrickett.
Thank you, President Cocker. Tonight, I have the privilege of presenting item 6, the superintendent's report. I'd like to take everyone's attention again down to 6.5, professional hires, and ask everyone here in the front row with the red bags to please stand up to be recognized. The board is aware, as is our community, we have made hiring the best employees our very top priority this school year. And I'm happy to report that again today, we're bringing on 6 new Bulldogs to our team, 5 of which are here tonight and are reflected on the board agenda under 6.5. 5, filling a variety of different roles all across the organization, from special education to classroom teacher. We just want to thank you and welcome you to Wilson and let you know that we're here for you to support you in any way that we can as you get started here as a Bulldog. So congratulations and welcome.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Trickett. Do we have a motion for Superintendent items 6.1 through 6.8?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Do we have a second? Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Okay, officially, welcome. Okay, on to consent items. Looking to request with gratitude the following donations from Mama's Pizza, a donation, Mama's Pizza on State Hill in Wyomissing, because there's 2. A donation of 50 pizzas and large catering orders of pasta for the Moment of Magic Club at Wilson High School. Looking for a motion to accept 7.1.
So moved. Case?
Mr. Case, thank you.
Schneider.
Mr. Schneider as second. Any discussion? Dr. Trickett?
Yeah, if it's okay, I'd just like to thank Alex Gruber, the owner of the original Mama's Pizza, a former Wilson student. We were chatting about him a couple of different times throughout the last few weeks here. It just, again, reinforces the impact our community has on our kids. A brand-new club this year in the high school that has had such an incredible focus on supporting young children, providing gifts for kids in hospitals, and Alex was right there the entire step, through every single process to support them. Always said yes, and Alex, if you see this or you catch wind of this conversation, we're just very proud of you and thank you for all you do for our kids here.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. So Alex is a former Bulldog, and it's giving back to our community. It just kind of reinforces the idea that this is a place that everyone loves to live and stick around and contribute back. So any other comments for 7.1? Okay, it is voice vote, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Under Human Resources, 8.1, request approval of the referral bonuses as attached. 8.2, request approval of the attached MOU between the association and the district. And 8.3, request approval of the updated job descriptions as attached. Looking for a motion for to approve Human Resources items 8.1 through 8.3.
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider, second.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Mrs. Casper?
I just want to comment on, just to thank and commend our leadership team and our HR committee with all their due diligence. This has been, I've been co-chair on the HR committee for, I think this is my 2nd year. And it has just been a rewarding experience to work with our leadership team. They really go above and beyond to make sure that we are hiring excellent educators, and they do their due diligence to make sure that, we are, equitably operating in this district. So I'm very proud to be a part of that. And I just want to commend you for the amazing efforts that we've had to endure this past year, given the circumstances around hiring in education. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Any other discussions for Human Resources items? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Student Services, 9.1, request permission to renew a contract with John Paul II for one special education student for ESY 2024 at a cost of $3,250 for the full ESY term, beginning June 17th, 2024 through August 1st, 2024, language previously approved by solicitor. 9.2, request approval of student discipline waiver and consent agreement dated May 15th, 2024. 9.3, request approval of an assignment confirmation from Anthromed under the terms of our current service agreement for a contracted speech and language therapist to provide services to students in our ESY program as presented. Looking for a motion to approve student service items 9.1 through 9.3.
Denny.
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Do we have a second?
McCurry.
Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Technology and Media, 10.1, request approval to renew membership in the Education Technology Pool Council Consortium for $577.50 for the 2024-25 school year. Looking for a motion for 10.1.
Schneider, so moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Do we have a second?
Denny.
Mrs. Denny? Feedback. Mrs. Denny, thank you. And any discussion for 10.1? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Operations, 11.1, request permission to purchase district classroom and office supplies through the BCIU bid from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. 11.2, request approval to contract with K&W Engineering for additional geotechnical services at the Lincoln Park property. 11.3, request approval to contract with K&W Engineering to prepare the sewage planning module package as presented. Looking for a motion to approve operation items 11.1 through 11.3.
So moved.
Mr. McCree, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second. Case.
Mr. Case, thank you. Any discussion?
I just wanted to add, the additional borings, what came back was, soft soils, and, just through conversations within the district and Jeff, through due diligence, it's best practice to continue to take additional samples, go deeper. And one of the discussions that we had was, this should help get more accurate bids, so there'll be no surprises for contractors later that can, hit us by surprise. So 100% agree with this, and it seems costly, but it's, money well spent. Also, with the sewer planning work, that was already accounted for within the budget, so that's just on here because we're starting to spend down that budget. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Any other comments for operations? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes. Oh.
Sorry. Mrs. Casper,
I'm usually, yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Finance, 12.1, request approval of the 2024-25 rates for behind-the-wheel driver education. 12.2, request approval of an agreement with statewide tax recovery. 12.3, request approval of the BCIU 2024-25 rates for tax bill services per the attached rate schedule. 12.4, request approval to award the following bids: elementary and secondary art supplies, elementary and secondary music equipment and supplies, secondary technology supplies, and fall athletic supplies. And 12.5, request approval of the budget transfers dated April 11th, 2024 through May 15th, 2024 as attached. Looking for motion to approve finance items 12.1 through 12.5.
McCray, so moved.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider, second.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Curriculum and Staff Development, 13.1, request approval of the Wilson School District Comprehensive Plan for 2024 through 2027. 13.2, request approval of a contract with Zurn for 2024-25 elementary and middle school math support services. 13.3, request approval of the 2024-25 Albright College Wilson School District dual enrollment agreement. 13.4, request approval of a contract with Mindful Roots Children LLC to facilitate professional development engagement sessions. 13.5, request approval to accept a 2024 grant check up to $275 for the Berks County, from the Berks County Intermediate Unit Business Education Partnership Grant. 13.6, request approval to enter into a contract with Booster Enterprises, Inc. to provide fundraising services in October and November 2024 to the Cornwall Terrace Elementary School at a cost of $1,000 setup fee, 30% of share service contributions, and 15% of each platform contribution. Looking for a motion to approve curriculum and staff development items 13.1 through 13.6.
Schneider, so moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Do we have a second? Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I have one thing to point out, just to remind everyone, 13.4, the Mindful Roots Children group, that was when the kindergarten teachers brought the kiddos in and did the Beanie Baby breathing. So I think that was amazing, and would love to see that for all levels, because I think emotional regulation is something that we're dealing with in every grade. And 13.2, I don't know about anybody else who is a parent of a middle schooler, but Zurn being due the next day when they have 10 assignments. Hopefully, I mean, we're re-upping it, so just get ready for next year, because it'll probably be the same situation. All right.
Mrs. Cocker, I'm not sure
Yes.
that our middle school students are going to talk to us after we approve this.
After we approve Zurn, I know.
Yes.
It's a nightmare. No, it's a great program. It's just, they should probably manage their time better. Any other discussions for curriculum and staff development? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Transportation, 14.1, request approval of an intergovernmental agreement, IGA, between the Wilson School District and Wyomissing Borough for the purpose of engaging law enforcement agency of the borough to review and certify violations captured using an automated stop signal arm enforcement system as presented. The 14.2, request approval for an IGA between the Wilson School District and Lower Heidelberg Township for the purpose of engaging the law enforcement agency of the township to review and certify violations captured using an automated stop signal arm enforcement system as presented. 14.3, request approval of an IGA between the Wilson School District and the Township of Spring for the purpose of engaging the law enforcement agency of the township to review and certify violations captured using an automated stop signal arm enforcement system as presented, pending solicitor review and approval. 14.4, request approval to award the liquid propane gas base bid to Jerome H. Rhodes as per attached bid response document contingent upon the execution and return of the contract form and other documents required by the contract documents subject to final solicitor review and approval. And 14.5, request approval to award the propane facility maintenance alternate bid to Ferrelagis, 1 Liberty Plaza, as per the attached bid response document contingent upon the execution and return of the contract form and other documents required by the contract documents, subject to final solicitor review and approval. Looking for a motion to approve transportation items 14.1 through 14.5. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second. Case?
Thank you, Mr. Case. Any discussion? Dr. Kennedy?
I just want to say, for the first time ever, we live on a really windy country road, and for the first time and my oldest is 20, so probably in 15 years of the bus, we had someone pass our bus while my child was crossing the street, and our street is a curvy, windy country road. And I always was for this, but I was enraged at that. And, you know, luckily, I have a crack in my driveway where I make the kids stand above the crack so that they till the bus stops, and they know to wait till the arm swings out. But yeah, my fourth grader was down there while my husband was up watching, and I heard him shouting, and he said, "I can't believe they just drove right by him." So this is definitely needed. It's super dangerous to be passing buses. But I do also want to thank my neighbors for the past 15 years of, waiting for my children to get on and off the bus, because there's a lot of them and they take their time. But yeah, I hope that Sinking Spring gets back to us and they get on board as well.
Agreed. Any other comments for transportation items? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes?
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under early learning childcare, 15.1, request approval of the Scholastic Pre-K On My Way preschool curriculum purchase for from Berkshire Heights Elementary Center, budgeted funds and pre-K counts, grants, funds as attached. Looking for a motion for 15.1.
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under extracurricular, 16.1, request approval of the revised handbook for student athletes and parents of student athletes as presented. 16.2, request approval of the 2024-25 extracurricular activity fee rates. 16.3, request approval of the competition dance team as a school-organized activity effective with the 2024-25 school year. Looking for a motion to approve extracurricular items 16.1 through 16.3.
Denny?
Mrs. Denny, and I will second that as chair of extracurricular. Go out of order. So thank you, Mrs. Denny. Any discussion for extracurricular items?
I would like to comment on both of these. I don't know if you're going to speak to it as well. This is going to take away a little bit of the later report. In going through the revised handbook for student athletics, we realized that while the expectation is there for other participants in student activities, there's not a similar handbook. For instance, for students involved in the music program or for choir. And it is expected of them by the staff that lead these programs. But it's one of the things that we want to look at, to have similar expectations in handbooks for all of the students that participate in extracurricular and co-curricular activities at Wilson. And if you're going to talk about the activity fee, I won't.
Thank you, Mrs. Denny. So the activity fee, also within the extracurricular committee structure, this was an idea that was first started in our committee and then brought to the board. So part of our recent engagement with businesses in the area, we have a Market Street program where businesses can advertise on our sports fields and facilities, and that is a source of revenue. So being that it's on our athletic fields, we then had the positive dilemma of what do we do with this extra revenue? Obviously, you can just put it into the general fund and we just bolster that. But since it's specific to those locations, we wanted to put it towards reducing the extracurricular activity fee for families and for students. So at the moment, we are proposing in item 16.2 that the activity fee for the upcoming school year is reduced by 50%. So at the moment, it's $100 for a student, not sixth grade, but 7 through 12. Sixth grade has a special situation, but $100 for a student 7 through 12 will be reduced down to $50 per student for them to be involved in activities. And the goal eventually, obviously, is to reduce it down to 0, but that is a balancing act. So currently, and to be transparent, what we receive from Market Street Sports will not fully cover that 50% that we're reducing it. We are, it's close, and we hope to gain more revenue through the marketing. But, so we will be short $40,000 a year on this program, but a good chunk of it is covered by the Market Street Sports. And from a marketing standpoint of our own, when we go out to local businesses in our area, obviously, we're asking them to advertise for their own company, which is a positive for them. But it's also, with this structure, we can share with them that the money that they are donating, or the money that they are paying into this advertising program, will also go to support reducing our student activity fee. So it directly goes back into supporting our students. And this has been a conversation for years, I believe. Definitely, Mrs. Casper and I had this conversation years ago. We're hoping to reduce or to remove a barrier to some students participating in activities. And I personally I think about this situation for my own family growing up, not now, but growing up. I'm the oldest of 5 children, and we're all, I'm the oldest, and the youngest is 6 years younger than me. So at one point, we were senior, 9th, 8th, 7th grade, it was stacked. So we were all eligible to participate in school activities. At the time, there was no activity fee. Had there been an activity fee, the thought of my family paying $100 per child, on top of, all of the other things that go along with being involved in an athletic activity, I think would have been a hindrance, definitely would have been a hindrance to our family. So, and obviously this, if a student qualifies for free and reduced lunch, we obviously work with the family and have reduced rates to begin with. But there is a good group of our community who they do not qualify for free reduced lunch, but they also maybe don't have all of the extra money to pour into activity fees or all the other fees that go along with the extra costs that go along with extracurricular activities. So as a district, if we can remove one of those barriers, this is at least a small step in the right direction to getting as many children involved in extracurriculars as possible. And then 16.3, the competition dance team is kind of like an offshoot of we have a dance team at the high school, which is amazing, very talented. But that competition dance team just allows that group to participate in a competition. So it's just like a little offshoot of their team to participate in a national competition. So that is our good chunk of our extracurricular report for later. Any other comments for extracurricular?
Well, does anyone know the current budget for the Market Street funds that come in? I mean, I'm just trying to get an idea of the percentage that this will offset.
The total revenue that we receive, I believe we received roughly $20,000 in our first year of the Market Streets campaign. So in totality, we receive roughly $120,000 each year in revenue from our families who participate in extracurriculars. This 50% reduction would take that revenue down approximately to $60,000. So we would be in a loss of 60. However, the $20,000 in additional revenue this year from Market Street would close 20,000 of that $60,000 gap, which would net out approximately at $40,000.
Okay, and I guess just another question, if we make another $20,000 next year on Market Street, would that go towards this, or is that reserved for other funds?
No, yeah, we go towards that. It's a nice campaign for us to be able to engage our business owners and community members and focus solely on this piece. So our current plan, again, unless the board would come back to us, would be to allocate any additional funds on top of the $20,000 to offset this cost, as revenue, to offset the general fund.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Any other discussion for extracurricular items? Okay.
Mrs. Cocker, I do
Yes.
have one additional point. Our job is to be able to provide the maximum amount of programming for our students in a way that is fiscally responsible for our community, and that's always a tough thing to juggle. And it's easy to see when you have a program like this where the revenue doesn't always match up. What you don't tend to see in these are the cost savings that aren't going to be in the budget. There's lots of studies, I'm sure, that have been done, I can't quote to the exact ones, that talk about how important it is for students to be involved in student activities outside of the regular school day. And just as a case in point, our student athletes, and then hopefully eventually all of our students, need to sign a student handbook that requires that they have a certain type of behavior, certain grades, different things like that. students who are involved in activities have touch points with adults. They have opportunities provided to them that students who aren't involved in athletics or theater, things they may not have. Probably higher rates of graduation because they have to maintain a certain GPA. So there's lots of ways that having students involved in activities benefits our students, benefits our community, and is not per se a cost savings, but that produces a better outcome for everyone involved. And that's hard to see on the balance book. And so this was something that got discussed in a couple of different committees because there is a financial cost to it. But by removing that barrier, I personally know of at least 2 children that my son is friends with who did not participate in activities this year. And he said to me, Mom, I think it was because of the money, because there was no other reason. They went to all of the open gyms, and then when it came to it, they just couldn't afford it. And the parents were too proud to ask for that help, even though it would have been given had they contacted. And you see that a lot. You see that a lot with the free and reduced lunch and the balances that are on the books for families who could qualify for the program but don't apply. So this is removing that barrier and making it a little more accessible for all students regardless of financial things. And so I really do think that that is being fiscally responsible in the long run for our district.
Thank you, Mrs. Denny. Any other discussion for extracurriculars? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under miscellaneous, our enrollment report, as of May 16th, 2024, there are 6,496 students, which is an increase of 8 from our previous report, and is very close to 6,500. Extremely, we're almost there. 17.2, we have a special item. We would like to request permission to appoint Mr. Ed Case, temporary board president, for the purpose of signing his son's diploma. So looking for a motion for 17.2.
So moved.
Mr. McCree, thank you. Do you have a second?
Schneider, second.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Congratulations, Mr. Case, for having a senior this year.
Gavel, please.
It's all yours. You want to switch seats? Oh, do we have to have a voice vote? Voice vote. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Case, you are president for the moment.
Great. Despite what, sometimes the rumor comes up that board members are paid positions, we are not, but there are a couple of fringe benefits that everyone is getting. Free football passes for parking.
Wait, he gets free football passes? We have to pay for ours. No idea we paid it.
Yeah, you could park.
Oh, the parking is free, but not the seat.
Water, you get water.
I do get
You
water.
get serenaded by performing arts students, and, yeah, and you get to sign a diploma. So
Parking is a good deal.
I recommend becoming a school board member to just about anybody. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Case. And next, we have a presentation for the 2024 SWOPE Scholarship, which is a very, something that we had only heard of this year because of the student who is receiving it. So very impressive young woman, and yes, Ms. Kathy Swope, welcome to the podium.
Good evening, board members. Thank you so much. I'm Kathy Swope, and I'm actually a little jealous because I was a board member in Lewisburg for over 20 years. We don't have those perks. I'm going to go back and say, hey, wait a minute. Anyway, I am here this evening with Fawn McClure from Pennsylvania School Boards Association, and I am so pleased to be here to present the PSBA Trust SWOPE Scholarship Award to Megan Kramer. So, Megan, would you please come forward? So if you'll stand here and we'll, I thought it's nicer for her to stand while I say all these lovely things about her instead of having her sit back there. She is planning to pursue a bachelor's degree in the arts, and she has consistently demonstrated leadership during high school. Over her high school tenure, she has excelled as a leader both academically and artistically. As a percussion section leader for the high school marching band, vice president of concert choir, and a student instructional aide for the elementary school music classroom, she has honored her ability to lead peers and younger students, which helped her identify her passion for teaching. She has been a part of numerous extracurricular activities and music ensembles, both vocal and instrumental, and is a National Honor Society member. Congratulations on that. In her recommendation letters, her teachers praised her intuitive leadership skills, musical ability, and attentiveness to the individual needs of students she has worked with as a student aide. After graduation, she will attend Westchester University to pursue a degree in music education and plans to, and she plans to to grow her skills in many musical ensembles available there. Congratulations, Megan. The Swope Scholarship, a little about the scholarship before we give you that, is awarded to a student planning to pursue a bachelor's degree in the arts and who consistently has demonstrated leadership during high school. And as I mentioned, she's been, mentioned 3 of the things she has done. She has numerous other extracurricular activities and musical ensembles. She's a member of the National Honor Society, and in her scholarship recommendation letters, her teachers praised both her intuitive leadership skills, her musical ability, and attentiveness to individual needs of students as she worked as a student aide. After graduation, as we mentioned, she will be attending Westchester University to pursue a degree in music education. Congratulations, Megan. We're very proud of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for presenting, and congratulations, Megan. That brings us to our committee reports for this evening. BCTC, Mrs. Casper.
Yes, thank you, President Cocker. I have no report. Our next meeting is this Wednesday, May 22nd.
Thank you. Dr. Kennedy.
Yes, I attended the BCIU meeting last Thursday. Along with what was mentioned on the agenda, the BCIU held its Berks County School and Safety Summit on Wednesday, April 24th at Penn State Berks. Over 100 leaders, school leaders, law enforcement, emergency responders, community partners, elected officials, and PDE reps and school board members attended this full-day conference. The keynote speaker was Max Schachter, and his son, Alex, was tragically killed in the Parkland shooting. It was an important day for everyone involved to learn about how to keep our schools safe. The BCIU consistently advocates for our students in Harrisburg. They attended on Tuesday, April 30th, they attended Educators Advocacy Day. And lastly, what was was the last one? The BCIU has been taking part in the Digital Navigator task, the Digital Navigator, they're working on including broadband, and in that the bilingual digital navigator joined the BCIU in November 2023, and he works closely, Mr. Espinal works closely with Berks County residents to see if they have any connectivity issues in the home to bring the internet to all the people. So, thank you. As far as, the curriculum committee meets on the 29th. And then I also have a student services committee. And we met, I feel like we met a long time ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. It's May-Cember. The student services committee, I have the world's largest font here. We talked about staffing. We're working on filling as many school positions as we can, and we did a really great job with this. We are looking to hire a home and school visitor. And something I learned at the meeting was that's an actual certificate that you get as part of being a social worker. We're also looking for a middle school greeter translator. We talked about our proof of residency process, and I learned a lot. We had a lot of questions. We learned a lot about what we do to make sure that all the students that are attending our schools live within the Berks County, within the Wilson School District. Very important, kindergarten registration. If you know anyone who has an incoming kindergarten, please don't wait till you see the buses in August. Register them now. Kindergarten registration was open online in March 5th. We tried to have some in-person in April. So far, we've only gotten 175 kindergartners, and we know that there are a lot more out there. So please, 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 if you see any, 5-year-olds running around, tell them to send their parents to get them registered. That's about it. Next one is next year, right? I don't think we have one for the rest of the year. September, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. Berks EIT, Mrs. Schlossman. Thank you. Extracurricular committee. So I joined the meeting remotely. I was not feeling very well, upper respiratory thing. It was a mess. So I'm going to pass this while I was physically listening and involved. I feel more comfortable passing this on to Mrs. Denny, who is actually in the room and fully participating. So Mrs. Denny, if you would be willing to take the report for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cocker. We already went over a number of the things that were discussed, including the activity fee reduction, the updates to the Student Athletes Handbook, and the competition dance team. I just want to say I'm really excited to see what they do. Our dance team is really impressive, and for them to have the opportunity to compete is going to be really exciting for those students and for our school. On facilities, there is quite a bit that's going to be happening this summer, including the Gursky Stadium turf is going to be redone right after graduation. So it's my understanding that turf fields are good for about 10 to 12 years, and it's been 12 or 13 years, so it's time, and that field gets so much use. So that's going to be happening, and we're looking at establishing a middle school chapter of Technology Student Association, and we discussed the concert season, which, as any parent knows, is pretty intense, but we really wanted to recognize Kelly Kuhn, who worked out the concert schedule in light of the move from the high school auditorium, but just all of our music professionals who help lead the children. I believe there is a special place in heaven for elementary orchestra directors, because it's just, they turn into fine musicians, but boy, it's a rough couple of years at the elementary level. So thank you to all of the people involved in those.
Keep
you,
that in
Miss-
mind, Megan.
Thank you, Mrs. Denny. Facilities, Mr. Case.
Thank you. There was no meeting, but I'll just give a quick update, with regard to the Performing Arts Center, the excavators got through all the foundation rock, so the classroom should be a little bit quieter in the afternoons now. The orchestra pit will start in the summertime when obviously no students are there, so there'll be some more digging there. It was a good idea for the board and administration to move forward with the added insurance for the rock, which we hit a lot from what I've heard. So anyway, so that was a good move on, everyone's part here and operations. I want to wish, Mr. Simcox and his team well for all the things that are coming, at this end of school year and all the, summer projects and upgrades, along with all the summer cleaning that's to be had in the near future. So that is my report, and the next meeting is June 10th at 4:30 PM in the Operations Building.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Case. Finance Committee, Mr. McCray.
We have not met since our last meeting. I just remind everyone that the proposed budget for next fiscal year is still available for public viewing.
Thank you. Legislative, Mr. Schneider.
The General Assembly continues to work on the budget. It is a slow, arduous process. In other news, though, excuse me, PSBA, which is the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, just won a lawsuit in Commonwealth Court regarding PDE's push to get an extension to the age of 22 for all special ed students. While the meaning of it is appreciated, the fact that they did it after the school year had started and everyone was almost immediately out of compliance was a little tough to deal with. So PSBA took PDE to court, and Commonwealth Court found in PSBA's favor. That's my report.
Great, thank you, Mr. Schneider. We have no human resources report this evening, unless Mrs. Casper did, no, okay. Public Relations, Mrs. Troutman.
Good evening. I have one piece of Wilson good news that I wanted to share with all of you. We want to congratulate Brad Linderman, who's a Wilson student who attends BCTC for video and media content production. Brad won first place in NASA's Hutch's Secondary School Division for his video explaining why go to the moon. NASA Hutch is a program for high school students to build products for the International Space Station. And Brad's video, because he won, will be displayed in their catalog of videos. So Brad's video is currently displayed actually on NASA's website. It's pretty cool. So we did share his video, the link, on our Facebook page. So if you didn't have a chance to see it, I really encourage you to do that. It's extremely impressive, extremely impressive. So this is, in my opinion, the best 2 weeks of the school year. We've got so many things going on, celebrations at all levels. But the thing that we're most excited to celebrate are our seniors. And I do also want to thank Mr. Heilman. You've served us so well this year, and we really, really appreciate all you've done. Not only is Bryce sitting in this seat as president of student government, he's also class president. So he actually holds both of those roles. So that's a lot. That's a lot of leadership, a lot of things that we ask a lot of him and his team, and they've just done an amazing job. And we're super proud. And you will see him on stage at graduation giving a speech as president of the class. So this is our last board meeting before graduation for the class of 2024. So we want to share with the community that we are once again celebrating the graduating class with a community parade and fireworks. The parade will follow the exact same route as last year and will begin at 6 p.m. on Friday, May 31st, with a rain date of June 1st, which we will not use, I promise. The students will make their way to Gursky Stadium for the graduation ceremony, and then each graduate receives tickets to the event. But for those who will not be in the stadium, it is also live streamed on our Wilson Media Productions page for the community to watch. And then following the ceremony, we will have a fireworks display beginning at approximately 9:15 p.m. We do have a custom website that we have developed for the class of 2024 events, and you can find the link to that on the homepage of the high school website. So we are all super excited to celebrate all of everything that these amazing graduates have accomplished. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Troutman. Education Foundation, Mr. Case.
Yes, thank you. There was a meeting on Friday. It was a wonderful meeting for the Education Foundation. Just a great group of folks and very inspiring. There were some presentations that were, for the venture grants. So, the Education Foundation puts out venture grants, and then, at times the teachers come in with some of the students and kind of give it a little bit of a, hey, this is what we did with your money, and the grant, and, kind of brag a little bit about what they're doing. So one of the things that, that came up was Learning in the Wild. So Ms. Lauren Peterson came in and she talked about, we've talked about that here as well. All 5 elementary schools participate at Shiloh Hills. We have a great, area at Shiloh Hills and the Learning Center outside there, where they had, nature hikes, master gardeners there. There was a beekeeper that kind of talks about all sorts of things there. It was just a great day. It's a full day. The Education Foundation provides lunch for everybody. So we just kind of went through that. This board here has seen presentations of Learning in the Wild, and I believe many of you have been there as well. Another venture grant presentation by Ms. Marina Wint was the Book Talks Club, which is a wonderful program, that they just started recently, and, the Education Foundation has, donated a grant for purchasing books, which have increased participation, where, students, choose books and talk about them, and then get more friends involved. They were actually purchasing 35 books for summer reading, which is wonderful. So, we always talk about the summer slide, or, so anyway, anytime a student has a book in their hand and they're reading, it's a great thing. Talked a little bit about the Iron Chef. Iron Chef made, a few $1,000s more than the previous year, so it was a great year for the Iron Chef. A lot of ideas on how to improve, to getting feedback from, community members and vendors, and, the students that are involved. One of the things that they're looking to do and change is, and I think this is, I don't know if it's public or not, but just kind of talking about the judging. It was very Wilson heavy for judging, even though Wilson hit it out of the park and they absolutely won. Just from an optics perspective, the Education Foundation was kind of looking at, whatever schools are going to participate, they would have representation as a judge on the judge board, which is a great idea, to keep things nice and even. So anyway, I figured I'd share that. I don't know if I'm sharing too much, but that's what was discussed. Talked a little bit about also the Education Foundation, donating solar eclipse glasses, during that day, which was wonderful. We saw some videos of students, and everyone was just freaking out. It was great. What's that?
So they're being redonated.
Yes, and they're also being redonated to, I believe, South America. Yeah, South America. So wonderful part of the program. A couple of things coming up. Save the date, October 5th for the next Bulldog Bash, 2024. So everybody save the date. You can see all this information online. And also the 11th Annual Wilson Community Night is coming up. It's May 23rd, so 3 days. Tickets are still available. Bless you. And so you can go online and take a look at the tickets there, but it's a great night to celebrate for the community. There's a lot of folks from Wilson and other also schools going as well. That, I believe, is my report. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Technology Committee, Mr. McCray.
I had no report.
Okay, thank you. Student Outreach, Mr. Bryce Heilman.
Thank you. It has been an incredible school year full of remarkable student achievements. To begin, I'd like to recap a few of the highlights from the school year. In 2023, Wilson's marching band competed in their brand new uniforms for the first time. Wilson won the rivalry trophy against Mifflin at the annual Whiteout game. Boys and girls water polo teams were crowned state runner-ups, and girls volleyball won its 4th straight county championship. Student government held the school's first homecoming dance in over a decade with huge student interest and success. Student government also held a candidate forum ahead of the school board election, and the girls wrestling team attended their first ever official tournament. In 2022, boys and girls swimming and diving teams and the boys basketball team were all crowned BCI AA champions. students and staff held a ceremony celebrating the groundbreaking of the new auditorium renovation. Wilson Theater Company performed The Little Mermaid, which was the last musical in the auditorium, to nearly sold-out crowds across 4 shows. Wilson's Minithon held the first winter pep rally at the school. Students from across all ensembles participated in county, district, regional, and state band, chorus, and orchestra festivals. Students signed the stage to bid farewell to the old auditorium. Wilson's Minithon raised a record-breaking $98,188.24 for the Four Diamonds Foundation. Wilson's JROTC cadets hosted their first ever 2nd Brigade Cybersecurity Competition. And Wilson's Prom Committee set up a Night in the Tropics themed dance to record-breaking attendance. Then I have another slide with recent events as well. Students are continuing to stay busy even at the end of the year. Last week, students from every school in the district participated in and helped out as buddies for the annual Wilson Games. They were a great success and an amazing event bringing the community together. Middle school students participated in the annual Field and Stream Day last week, and students from Southern demonstrated excellence in the National Spanish exam, with students earning 1 gold, 2 silver, and 4 bronze medals, as well as 13 honorable mentions. Last week also, the girls lacrosse, boys lacrosse, and boys baseball teams all were crowned BCI AA champions. Congratulations to all for this amazing achievement in just one night. And again, I just want to express my sincere gratitude to everyone who's made this opportunity available for me to sit on the board. Thank you, Mrs. Troutman, for being an amazing coordinator and being a person that I could always go to if I ever had any questions or needed anything about this position. Also, Dr. Trickett and Mrs. Burkholder, I want to thank you for all your help and all the information you provided me, allowing me to learn even more from this experience. And thank you to President Cocker and everyone on the board for allowing me to sit alongside you, learn from you, talk with you, and get to know you. It has been an amazing time serving you as student representative. I'm so thankful to you all for being so welcoming this year and allowing me the opportunity to have this role. Thank you.
Thank you, Bryce. And we have no public participation on non-agenda items, so any other business from the board? Mrs. Denny?
So this is my favorite part of the meeting, where I get to talk about some of the wonderful stuff that's been happening at our school, because I like to draw some attention to it, because I think a lot of it's not known. And there was so much happening these last 2 weeks that a lot of it was highlighted on, that it was kind of hard to pick. I would note that there was a canine demonstration today, and Officer Johnson declined to put on the bite suit. But one of the many things that Wilson offers its students that a lot of other schools don't. But beyond everything else, Wilson offers some of the best academics in the county. And I had the opportunity to witness that today with the AP Research class, which gave its presentation of the entire year's research project. Bryce presented his as well. There were, I guess, about a half dozen students that did it. And the level of work from these high school students was phenomenal. I would say it was kind of like a light doctorate, and a doctorate is never light, so that just gives you a sense of that. The topics that these students covered were amazing. There were some that were kind of fun and lighthearted, like going on about looking at Beatlemania. There was a student who has family in the Special Forces that is going to go to school on ROTC and wants to go into the Special Forces, and he looked at the impact of being in the Special Forces on romantic relationships. There was a presentation that looked at whether or not your interest in certain reading impacts the reading, and the answer was yes and no, but I guess our students are reading far less of their assignments than we would like. But there was also one with a student that has a hearing deficit that looked at decimal levels in our classrooms. And what was so amazing about this particular presentation is this is information that was completely novel to me, and I think to a lot of other people, but that we're going to be able to use, hopefully, in terms of some of the building that is going on. These students are clearly some of the best and brightest because these are independently run. The teachers that assist them aren't allowed to do anything to help them because the report itself is the AP exam. And so all of the work that goes into it, they spend the first 3 months reading 50 to 100 sources to come up with the question that they want to research. That is a phenomenal amount of work to get to that point. I'm sure you could speak to that very directly. And just the quality of work that they produce. And these students are going to go off. There were a couple going to Penn State, Emory-Riddle, Elizabethtown, Gettysburg, just a lot of the top colleges that they're going to. And so that is the kind of academics that Wilson offers that I think a lot of people don't realize the level of work being done at the high school. Which leads me into the other thing I wanted to discuss, which is that at Wilson, the 9th grade honors history, one of the things that they do is they look at some of the important court decisions that lead to where we are today. They do it in between the Vietnam and Korean wars, and they look at the Warren Court. And for those of you who aren't legal geeks, you would know a lot of the Warren Court decisions because of the things that we depend on today. Miranda versus Arizona, and Terry versus Ohio, and Loving versus Virginia, cases that impact our daily life. So I was helping my daughter study for this, and she was seeing it very much as history in the past, that this stuff happened and it doesn't really impact us today. Well, this past Friday was the 70th anniversary of Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, which obviously as a school board is very important to us that this exists. It's kind of hard to imagine that it's been 70 years. And a lot of people, my daughter in particular, saw it as this is very far past history, this doesn't impact me. But one of the things with Supreme Court cases in particular is that when they happen, they're not the end, they're the beginning. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the United States was not fully desegregated until 2016. The last district to desegregate was in Mississippi, Cleveland, Mississippi. So it was a 62-year process, until the United States was actually desegregated. So it's actually very modern history. And I think it is wonderful that the court cases that led to that are being taught to our students at a 9th grade level. And I think that as a board, it's the kind of thing that we should keep in mind, that things that we think don't touch us today really are an ongoing process. And a lot of stuff isn't the end when it happens, and that we have to be cognizant. Wilson is 27% Latino, and I don't know the percentage of African-American students, but we are at this point about a third minority, which is a dramatic change, but there's obviously still work to go. So I just thought that was worth noting.
Thank you for sharing that, Mrs. Denny. Any other business from the board? Okay, just a quick reminder that that May, although it's already the 20th, is Mental Health Awareness Month. So just that whether you're a parent or a child and you see someone struggling in your family or your friend group, just to have a conversation, an open conversation with them about mental health. It's not a taboo. Everybody deals with mental health struggles differently. And just, if you need help as a school district, if you're a parent or a student that needs help, please reach out to our counseling staff, to your teacher, to your child's teacher. We're always here to help when families are dealing with a difficult situation. So that's my little plug as a reminder that life is hard. So especially as we get into changing, like graduating, and this is the time of the year where everything kind of is an upheaval. So Mental Health Awareness Month. Okay. All right. Any other business? Hearing none, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Schneider, so moved.
Motion, meeting adjourned.